I thought I understood luxury until I spent 48 hours in Naples. I'd been to nice places before, five-star hotels, expensive restaurants. But this was different. It wasn't just one beautiful thing surrounded by normal life. It was everything. The grocery store looked like a European market. The public library had a waterfall. Even the Target felt like it was designed by someone who actually cared. And I realized, this is what's possible when an entire community commits to the same standard. When everyone agrees that excellence isn't optional. These 5 Florida beach towns have done something remarkable. They've created environments where beauty is the baseline. Where luxury isn't rare, it's everywhere you look. And once you see it, once you experience what that actually feels like, you can't unsee it. But here's the crazy part. While I was in Naples, I did something that perfectly captured what this town is actually about. I walked into a marina, just a regular Tuesday afternoon, and there was a 70-foot yacht being detailed. Not unusual for Naples, right? But then the owner came out, this incredibly gracious older gentleman, and we started talking. Within 20 minutes, he invited me aboard for a sunset cruise. Just like that. No agenda, no weird energy. Just genuine hospitality. And as we're sitting there watching the Gulf turn pink and gold, drinking wine that probably cost more than my car payment, he tells me this is just what people do here. They share beauty. They share experiences. Because when you're surrounded by this much abundance, you stop hoarding it. You start wanting other people to see what you see. That moment crystallized something for me about true luxury. It's not about having things other people can't have. It's about living in an environment so abundant that generosity becomes natural. And that's what these 5 towns have figured out. Now, before we dive into these incredible places, I need you to do something for me. If you're tired of those clickbait videos that promise you the best beach towns in Florida and then show you the same 5 tourist traps everyone already knows about, hit that like button right now. Because what I'm about to show you is different. This is real data, real insights. The places that people who actually live in luxury choose to call home. And if you want more content that goes beyond the surface, that actually tells you the truth about Florida living, subscribe. Because I'm not here to sell you fantasies. I'm here to show you what's real, what's possible, and what you're actually getting when you invest in these communities. So let's talk about why this video matters. When most people think about luxury beach towns in Florida, they think about Miami Beach. Maybe Naples if they know someone who golfs. But they're missing the full picture. They're missing the places where luxury isn't just present, it's perfected. Here's what nobody's explaining. True luxury isn't about one beautiful house on an average street. It's about an entire ecosystem designed around excellence, where the town itself is the amenity, where walking to get your mail is an aesthetic experience, where the standards are so high that mediocrity physically cannot exist within the city limits. This video will show you the 5 places in Florida that have achieved this. Not just nice towns, not just expensive towns. Towns that have invested decades and billions of dollars into creating environments where every single element, from architecture to landscaping to community culture, reflects an obsession with beauty and quality. Everyone thinks luxury is about exclusivity, about keeping people out. But I'm going to show you something different. These towns aren't about exclusion, they're about curation. About what happens when a community collectively decides to maintain the highest possible standard for everything. And yes, that comes with a price tag, but the price reflects something real, something tangible, something you can see and touch and experience every single day. By the end of this video, you'll understand what 8-figure coastal living actually delivers. Not the fantasy version, not the jealousy version, the honest version, what you actually get for that kind of money. And why people who can afford to live anywhere in the world keep choosing these 5 specific towns. So, where does true Gulf Coast luxury begin? With a 12-mile barrier island that's been perfecting its craft for 70 years. Coming in at number 5 is Longboat Key. Longboat Key sits between Sarasota and Bradenton, stretching 12 miles along some of the most pristine white sand beaches in Florida. Population, 7,000. Median home price, $1.4 million. But those numbers don't capture what this place actually is. Longboat Key is what happens when a community decides that beauty matters more than density. The entire island is carefully planned. No high-rises blocking the view, no commercial strips cluttering the landscape. Just elegant mid-rise condominiums and luxury estates, each positioned to maximize the water views and beach access. The beaches here are consistently rated among the best in America, not just for the sand, though it's spectacular, but for how uncrowded they are. You can walk for miles and encounter maybe a dozen people. That kind of space, that kind of peace, is increasingly rare on any coastline. Here, it's guaranteed. What you're really buying in Longboat Key is curation. The island has maintained strict architectural standards since the 1950s. Everything feels cohesive, intentional. There are multiple private beach clubs, championship golf courses, tennis facilities that host professional tournaments. The dining scene is more sophisticated than you'd expect for a town of 7,000. Multiple restaurants with James Beard-nominated chefs, wine lists that rival anything in New York, and because the population skews towards successful retirees and second homeowners, everything operates at a remarkably high level of service. Now, yes, there are homeowner associations, quite a few of them, but here's the reframe. Those associations are what maintain the standard. They're what ensure that the island in 20 years looks as good as it does today. That's not constraint. That's stewardship. That's how you protect a $2 million investment. When you buy into Longboat Key, you're buying into a community that takes its beauty seriously, that understands maintenance isn't optional, that knows excellence requires constant attention, and the result is an island that feels timeless, that doesn't age or decline. That gets better with each passing year because everyone who lives there is invested in the same vision. But what happens when you want something even more exclusive? When Gulf Coast luxury isn't enough and you need to be on the Atlantic side, in a place so selective that most Floridians have never heard of it? That brings us to number 4. Jupiter Island, a 17-mile sliver of perfection that's quietly become home to some of the most accomplished people in America. Jupiter Island sits on Florida's southeast coast between Palm Beach and Stewart. Population, 879. Average home price, $6.4 million. Tiger Woods lives here. Celine Dion, Alan Jackson. But the celebrity factor isn't what makes Jupiter Island special. Jupiter Island made a choice decades ago that defines everything about it. No commercial development. Zero. No restaurants, no shops, no gas stations. The entire island is residential only. At first, that might sound limiting, but here's what it actually creates. Absolute tranquility. You drive onto the island and the frenetic energy of coastal Florida just disappears. There are no tourists, no traffic, no crowds. Just pristine estates, immaculate landscaping, and 17 miles of private paradise. When you own property on Jupiter Island, you're not just buying a house. You're buying into a community where privacy is the ultimate amenity, where your neighbors understand the value of space and quietness, where someone can be enormously successful and enormously famous and still go for a morning walk without being bothered. The beaches are technically public, but the access points are so limited and low-key that they remain gloriously empty. The golf courses are world-class. The tennis facilities regularly host professional players for private training. And because there's no commercial infrastructure, the island maintains an aesthetic purity that's almost impossible to find anywhere else in Florida. This is a place for people who've achieved enough that they no longer need to prove anything, who value discretion over display, who want their home to be a genuine sanctuary, not a showpiece. Jupiter Island delivers that at the highest possible level. Think about what that means for your daily life. You wake up and the first thing you see is your own private stretch of beach. You have your morning coffee on a terrace overlooking the Atlantic. You go for a run and you don't pass a single billboard or strip mall or anything that reminds you of commercial America. It's just natural beauty, architecture that complements the landscape. Other people who respect the same code of quietness that you do, that's worth $6 million to the right person. Because you can't create that environment anywhere else. You can't buy your way into that kind of peace in a normal town. It requires everyone around you to be on the same page, to value the same things, and Jupiter Island has assembled that community over decades of careful selection. But what if you want more than just residential perfection? What if you want an entire private island with every amenity you could imagine, accessible only by ferry or private yacht? That brings us to number 3, Fisher Island, the ultimate private island, because there's one place in Florida that takes exclusivity to its logical, luxurious conclusion. Fisher Island sits just off the coast of Miami. Population 467, average home price $7.5 million. It's the wealthiest zip code in America, and it's only accessible by ferry, private boat, or helicopter. Fisher Island was a single private estate for most of the 20th century. In the 1980s, a visionary developer transformed it into something unprecedented, a completely self-contained luxury community. Everything you need is on the island, and I mean everything. Private beach club, championship golf course designed by PB Dye, deepwater marina that can accommodate super yachts, 20 tennis courts including a stadium court, spa, fitness center, multiple restaurants, even a private school for residents' children. When you live on Fisher Island, you're not commuting to luxury, you're surrounded by it. You can wake up, play 18 holes of golf, have lunch at the beach club, get a massage at the spa, and have dinner at a 5-star restaurant without ever leaving the island. The architecture is Mediterranean revival at its finest. Lush tropical landscaping everywhere you look. The beaches are pristine and completely private. The level of service rivals the best resorts in the world, except it's not a resort, it's your home. Here's what makes Fisher Island truly special: the people. This is where CEOs, professional athletes, European aristocracy, and entertainment industry executives have second or third homes. The networking opportunities alone are extraordinary. Your casual conversation at the beach club might be with someone who runs a Fortune 500 company. And yes, the staff commutes on and off the island daily. But that's not a flaw, it's a feature. It means you have resort-level service in your private residence. It means every amenity operates at the highest possible standard, because it's staffed by professionals who take their roles seriously. Think about the practical implications of this. You never have to leave the island unless you want to. You have world-class dining, recreation, fitness, and social opportunities, all within a few hundred yards of your front door. And when you do want to experience Miami, the culture, the nightlife, the business opportunities, you're a 10-minute ferry ride away. It's the best of both worlds. Complete privacy and seclusion when you want it. Full access to a major metropolitan area when you need it. That flexibility is what $7.5 million buys you. But perhaps you're someone who wants the prestige and the history, who wants to live not just in luxury, but in a place with legacy, where American aristocracy has gathered for over a century. That brings us to number 2, Palm Beach, the American Riviera, the town that invented Florida luxury. The place where old money, new money, and historic elegance collide in the most spectacular way possible. Palm Beach is a 16-square-mile island with a population of 9,000. Median home price, $2.8 million. Worth Avenue, the Breakers Hotel, Mar-a-Lago. This is where American coastal luxury was born, and it's never stopped evolving. Palm Beach has been synonymous with wealth and refinement since the Gilded Age. Henry Flagler built the Royal Poinciana Hotel here in 1894, and the ultra-wealthy have been coming ever since. But here's what's remarkable. Palm Beach hasn't rested on its history. It's continuously improved and refined itself for over a century. The architecture is extraordinary. Mediterranean revival estates designed by Addison Misner. Mid-century modern masterpieces. Contemporary mansions that blend seamlessly with historic buildings. Every property is maintained at museum quality because the entire town treats itself like a work of art. Worth Avenue is one of the finest shopping streets in America. Hermes, Chanel, Tiffany, and dozens of boutiques you won't find anywhere else. The restaurants range from legendary institutions to cutting-edge culinary experiments. The cultural scene includes world-class art galleries, theater, and the Norton Museum of Art. But beyond the obvious amenities, Palm Beach offers something intangible: social capital. This is where power brokers and influencers gather, where charity galas raise millions in a single night, where the social season is an actual thing that matters. If you're someone who operates at the highest levels of business, politics, or culture, Palm Beach puts you in proximity to your peers. A Palm Beach address carries weight that transcends real estate. It's a signal. It opens doors. It says something about your position in the world. And because the supply of oceanfront property is fixed while demand continues to grow, values have appreciated consistently for decades. People who bought here 20 years ago have seen their investments triple or quadruple. There's a reason Palm Beach has maintained its status for over 100 years. It's not just momentum or tradition. It's because the town continues to deliver on its promise. The beaches are immaculate. The services are impeccable. The community is engaged and sophisticated. When you invest in Palm Beach, you're not just buying a house. You're buying into a legacy, into a community that has defined American coastal elegance for generations and shows no signs of slowing down. But there's one more town. One place that's taken all of these elements: the beauty, the amenities, the community, the investment potential, and synthesized them into something that might be the most complete luxury beach town in Florida. Which brings us to number 1. Naples, the perfected paradise. The town that doesn't just have luxury, it is luxury. Naples sits on Florida's southwest Gulf Coast. Population, 22,000. Median home price, $1.2 million. And it's consistently ranked as one of the wealthiest small cities in America. But those statistics don't capture what Naples has accomplished. Naples is what happens when every element of a coastal town is executed at the highest level. The beaches are pristine, wide white sand stretching for miles. The downtown is walkable and elegant, with high-end shopping, exceptional restaurants, and galleries featuring world-renowned artists. The cultural offerings rival major cities: the Naples Philharmonic, multiple theaters, art museums, and film festivals. But here's what truly sets Naples apart: the depth of amenities. There are 61 golf courses in the Naples area. 61. Not because people love golf that much, but because the community has the resources and the will to maintain that many championship-level courses. The same principle applies to tennis facilities, beach clubs, marinas, and dining. In Naples, luxury isn't concentrated in one neighborhood or one club. It's distributed throughout the entire town. You can live in a coastal high-rise with direct beach access, a golf course estate with your own putting green, or a historic home in Old Naples within walking distance of Fifth Avenue shopping. The dining scene has evolved dramatically. Multiple James Beard-nominated chefs, farm-to-table restaurants sourcing from local producers, wine programs that have won international awards. You can have a different spectacular meal every night for a month. Here's what you're really buying in Naples: a peer group. This is where successful people from across the country choose to spend their time. Entrepreneurs who sold their companies, executives who retired from corner offices, people who've accomplished significant things and want to spend the next chapter of their lives somewhere beautiful, comfortable, and stimulating. That concentration of talent and success creates opportunities. Casual friendships turn into business partnerships. Golf course conversations become investment opportunities. The person sitting next to you at a charity event might become your closest friend. That story I told you at the beginning about the yacht owner who invited me on a sunset cruise? That's not an anomaly in Naples, that's the culture. People here have achieved enough that they're no longer competitive or guarded. They're generous. They want to share what they have. They want to connect with interesting people and create memorable experiences. That mindset permeates the entire town. Is Naples expensive? Absolutely. Will you spend more on a home here than in 99% of American towns? Yes, but here's the truth. You're getting what you pay for. The beaches are genuinely world-class. The amenities are comprehensive and excellently maintained. The community is engaged and sophisticated, and the lifestyle, the day-to-day experience of living here, is extraordinary. Naples proves that luxury isn't just about individual purchases. It's about creating an environment where excellence is the default, where you're surrounded by beauty and quality in every direction, where your investment appreciates while you enjoy it. That's not a compromise. That's the whole point. So let's bring this together. We've just walked through 5 of the most extraordinary places in Florida. Maybe in America. Longboat Key, with its 12 miles of curated Gulf Coast perfection. Jupiter Island, where privacy and discretion reach their highest expression. Fisher Island, the only accessible by ferry private paradise that's literally the wealthiest zip code in the country. Palm Beach, where a century of American aristocracy has created something timeless and elegant. And Naples, the complete package that somehow delivers everything at once. And here's what these places all share. They're not accidents. They're not just nice towns that happen to become expensive. They're the result of decades of intentional decisions. Of communities that decided excellence was non-negotiable. Of people who invested not just money but vision and care into creating environments that reflect the highest possible standards. Yes, the price tags are significant. $1 million, $2 million, $6 million, $7 million. Those numbers can be intimidating, even shocking. But here's the reframe I want to leave you with. These prices aren't arbitrary, they're not inflated. They're accurate reflections of something genuinely rare and genuinely valuable. When you buy into one of these communities, you're not just getting a house. You're getting access to an entire lifestyle, to beaches that never get crowded, to amenities that rival the best resorts, to communities of accomplished, interesting people who've also chosen to prioritize quality of life. And perhaps most importantly, you're getting permanence. These towns have maintained their standards for decades. They're not going to suddenly decline. They're not going to be overdeveloped. They've figured out how to preserve what makes them special while continuing to improve and evolve. That's what the money buys. Not just luxury, security. The confidence that your investment, both financial and emotional, is protected. For some people, that's worth everything. I think what these towns really represent is possibility. They show us what's achievable when a community commits to something bigger than individual interests. When everyone agrees to maintain a certain standard, to prioritize beauty and quality and excellence. That's inspiring. Not because everyone can afford to live in these places, obviously most people can't, but because it proves that these environments can exist, that it's possible to create spaces where every detail matters, where beauty isn't an afterthought but the foundation. And maybe, just maybe, some of those principles can be applied anywhere, in any community, at any price point. The idea that excellence is worth pursuing, that beauty matters, that how we treat our shared spaces reflects who we are as people. These 5 towns have taken those principles to their logical conclusion, and the result is spectacular. If you found this video valuable, if it gave you a different perspective on luxury or showed you places you didn't know existed, I'd love it if you'd hit the like button. It helps more people discover these kinds of deep dives. And if you want more content exploring Florida through an analytical, honest lens, looking at what actually makes places special, what the numbers really mean, what you're actually getting for your investment, subscribe, because this is what we do here. We go beyond the surface. We look at the data and the details and the real story. Leave a comment and tell me, did I miss any towns? Do you have experience with any of these places? What would you add to the list? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.